Okay, guys, we are not live yet, but the link is hooking up. So it will be live in just a few seconds. And for any of you who have anyone else who wants to watch, they can go on Facebook and see this too. It's on the Fauquier Young Entrepreneurs Program page. Okay, great. So we are live now. If you would, Mrs. Banning, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and present. Let me go to the front. Okay, so welcome to the first annual Wakefield School Young Entrepreneurial Program, otherwise known as the YEP. This is our first forum that we are conducting. This has been since November that we've been meeting, and unfortunately with COVID-19, we had to go virtual, and I think we've done a pretty good job at that. Let's see, what is YEP? Wakefield School was chosen to participate in the Young Entrepreneurial Pilot Program. The pilot program is funded through Go Virginia Region 9 to educate high school students about creating and running a small business. Jennifer Goldman, Mike Allen, and of the Resonance Group and Miles Friedman of the Fauquier County Economic Development Office have been our partners in establishing this program at Wakefield, and we're very thankful for that opportunity. So here is our Wakefield YEP student team. We have Sarah Lang, who's the class of 2020. Congratulations, Sarah. We have Grayson Banning and Jack Pija, the class of 2021, Nora Stewart, Eugene Chung, the class of 2022, and last but not least, Nahi Zhang of the class of 2023. So what I'm going to do is have each one of them introduce themselves. Unfortunately, our videos don't really work. So Sarah, take it away.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a senior at Wakefield School. Just graduated. I'm committed to Northeastern University in downtown Boston. And I'm planning to major in finance plus computer science combined major. I've been at Wakefield for 4 years, and I started the International Business Internship Program, which is 6 students working towards a project in Nigeria. We're helping a Nigerian business owner to advance his business. And I also attempted to start my own business by the way, I'm an international student from China. I'm trying to, my business was to connect international students from China to American high schools through an online platform. Thank you.
Okay, Grayson Banning.
Oh, crap. Hi, my name's Grayson Banning. I'm a junior at Wakefield, and I've been going to Wakefield for 4 years now. I've been interested in business all my life, and I think YEP is a great outlet to gain experience and venture out into the world of entrepreneurship and business. Thank you.
Pija.
Hi, I'm Jack Pija. I'm 18, going into 12th grade. I've been interested in business for most of my life because my grandfather was a stockbroker, and I've recently been studying the stock market for the past 3 years. And I'm very interested in starting this new business at Wakefield to see how well it can succeed.
Thank you. Nora.
Hi, I'm Nora Stewart. I'm a sophomore at Wakefield, and future-wise, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with my life, but I do know that I definitely don't want to be stuck inside. I want to do something outside, whether it be like just working at a restaurant that has outdoor seating or just something like that. Like I want to be able to communicate with people and be outside. And I've been at different internships before, but I've never really, been able to start my own business. And I thought this would be a really cool way of doing it because I have Miss Banning to help me and Miss Goldman. So I thought it would be a really cool idea to join. I'm really excited to get started.
Thank you. Eugene, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Eugene Chong. I'm the 10th grader, and this is my second year at Wakefield School. I was always interested in business. in the future, but I don't have any experience. So I joined the YEP to learn some of the information about like creating business, some of the hardships, and like how to run successfully.
Thank you. And then Nahi.
Hello, I'm Nahi Jung. I'm a freshman at Wakefield School. I'm an international student from Korea. I had studied in Singapore for a couple of years. And this is my first year in the United States. I decided to join Young Entrepreneurs Program because I wanted to explore something new. And this field called business was not something that is familiar to me. My future plan is to become a medical doctor, and I know that it's not quite related to being an entrepreneur, but still, I thought it would be a great opportunity if I can just open up myself and challenge myself and give myself an opportunity to try new things. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let me go back, and I'm trying to toggle between seeing all of you and my PowerPoint. So today's special guest panelists are Karen Way from Ovoca Farms. Did I say that right?
Yes,
right, Ms. Way?
ma'am.
Okay. Nir Warbra from Field and Maine, and Ken Lukonis from Strategic Alliance Consulting, Incorporated. Thank you all very much for supporting this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this over to Sarah for her to moderate the questions. And what we did is we had the students come up with 1 to 2 questions that they would like to hear. So, but maybe first we do that, if maybe we could have the panelists introduce themselves and maybe give us a little background of their business. So who wants to go first? Ladies first. Ms. Way, you want to go first? Ladies
Happy
first.
to. So I am Karen Way, and let's see, my son is starting 9th grade next year at Wakefield, and my 3 godsons, the Giannanis, are all either graduated or in high school, going into high school. So I've been around Wakefield since, for like 15 years. That being said, I represent for sure one business, but now that the young lady was talking about a doctor's office, I have direct experience because my job right now has been, quote, turning around and managing and starting up a doctor's office. That being said, the business I'm here today about is Avoca Farm, which is a cattle and pork operation. Started it ourselves about 6 years ago, and have various permutations of business models and studies. So I think I would be able to talk to you guys about the startup aspect and capital investment and logistics. Anyways, that's. Oh, and I'm a lawyer too. So I know the business side or the legal kind of side of things too in this arena.
Okay, who wants to go next? Mr. Warber, do you want to go?
Sure. My name is Neil
Okay.
Wabra. I'm the proprietor of Field and Maine Restaurant in Marshall, Virginia. We've been open for just about 3.5 years, going on 4 for September will be our 4th anniversary. I have a background in the culinary arts and in managing restaurants and hospitality operations. Prior to that point, I was a government bureaucrat. So I switched careers to venture into the hospitality realm. And have experience then in managing and then in this case with Field and Maine, really beginning a project from the foment in my mind all the way through to opening the doors to the public. So you can ask questions related to that and I'll do my best to answer them for you.
And Neil, is that you formerly of Ashby Inn?
Yes, yeah, I worked at the Ashby.
That was you. We're next door neighbors. But
Exactly right. Yes, this way we had a chance to kind of connect just as I was leaving the Ashby.
And we were selling beef.
That's right.
Okay, Mr. Lukonis.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ken Lukonis. I did a little bit different path. Graduated high school, couldn't find my way, so I went in the Army. Spent 10 years in the Army. Got out in the Army, went big business. So I worked at some pretty large companies like Northrop Grumman, 110,000 employees there. You kind of get lost in that type of company. Got a little tired of the bureaucracy and felt the only way I can change things is if I started a company myself. So started Strategic ACI, and it'll be, actually, we just hit 7 years a week and a half ago. Currently, we're just under 60 employees. We support the Army and a few of the other agencies in this area, Department of State. So specialize in geospatial intelligence, trade that I actually learned while I was in the Army. So that's about it. Live in Marshall and have 3 kids. 2 go to Fauquier High School, 1 graduated from Kettle Run.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm going to, Grayson, is Jack unavailable to get on his device so he can?
His phone just died, so he is 6 feet apart from me right now. So
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna turn this over to Sarah and have her ask the question. So students, if you have something that you want to expound on, please feel free to speak up, okay? Okay, so Sarah, take it away.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we're here to learn from you. Our first question is, what inspired you to create your own business?
Karen, you want to go for it?
I was going to say, Neil, that's really you. Well, for us, it was, it's funny. My husband and I love to eat. And so one of his goals in life was buying a farm. And so when we bought a farm, we realized that for tax purposes, you need animals on a farm to keep your property taxes low. And this is a large farm. It's about 800 acres. So we really need to make it a real farm. And that being said, we love food, we love eating, and we love cooking. So what do? We get some cows and say, all right, let's start figuring out, what do we do with the cows? Do we start our own restaurant? Neil actually was really helpful in terms of, we eliminated starting our own restaurant immediately. Terrible idea for us, because that's not our forte or our background. But we did look at different models, whether from food trucks to fancy high-end restaurants like what Neil is representing today. That being said, after we decided we did not want to go the restaurant route, we decided to basically do a mail order business of meat, kind of like Omaha Steaks. But once we established what breed we wanted, then we went on with that. But we started it because we love food and we needed a tax break and we like animals. So it all kind of came together.
Nice. Thank you.
Neil, you want to go?
Sure. The inspiration point for me relates, as Karen mentioned, to a love of food and of dining. And the jumping off point, like Ken noted, I was stuck and mired in a bureaucracy and felt like I could make a bigger impact on my own particular goals of linking the farm and the table together, but also just for having an enriched life and a quality of life, pursuing something that I enjoy, a passion of mine. So I left government and I went to culinary school and began to gain experience that would allow me to then open my own restaurant. That was the eventual goal, thinking that if I had a restaurant and I could buy product from local farms and employ a couple dozen people, serve a couple thousand people, I might have a greater impact. I would certainly have a greater time, an enjoyable time doing what I was doing, as opposed to being just in government, lost in that mire of people that are many times focused on trying to just maintain a status quo, and I wasn't about trying to do that. So for myself, my family's experience with growing up was essentially always about food. We were at lunch talking about dinner, we were at dinner talking about breakfast, and the way in which you communicate and show love and attention and connection, and the way you connect with people is through food. And so for me, a restaurant made sense. It linked the idea that I wanted to support smaller scale agriculture and a diverse range of agriculture and a regional focus on a regional scale economy. And then also a passion of my own was cooking and being with people and serving food. So when you put those things together, a restaurant made sense.
So this is Ken. So for me, I mean, the big thing was after serving in the Army, I wanted to continue to support the Army. I enjoyed the Army. I enjoyed being away from my family for a year at a time, and it wasn't going to work with me having a wife and kids. So I decided that the best way for me to still support the Army and the services was to start my business. Working within the big business, I just felt like everybody was a number. And working especially at Northrop and some of the larger companies, it's about the almighty dollar. Don't get me wrong. I did not go into business to lose money. You know, I went in to make money, but I always put my employees first. And I felt at the larger companies, they weren't doing that. And I felt that I had if I put the recipe together, and here we're talking about food, see, everything turns back to food.
Always.
So if I put the recipe together where if I take care of employees, they will take care of customers and the company will take care of itself.
Yes, sir.
You know, so we've always put our employees first. As a matter of fact, I mean, literally 5 minutes before this call, I received the feedback from the Washington Business Journal from the 2020 Best Place to Work, where our employees voted for that. And they sent me the raw feedback, and I'm glad I wasn't on the camera because I was almost in tears reading it. Because we're doing things right where we're taking care of employees. So my biggest reason for doing it is, number one, I knew I could take care of my family. I could put food on the table. Number two, I could take care of all my employees. You know, I tell people I don't worry about my mortgage because for some crazy reason, if this company just goes, you know, and the wheels fall off for some crazy reason, I know I can find a job, you know, with my experience, my clearances, and my degree. What I can't do is, you know, so for me, I worry about 58 other mortgages, you know, for the other people. And I believe they could find jobs also, but I still get a bit nervous. So, and sorry, I wish I knew how to turn off this phone that's sitting at my desk, but I actually don't know how to turn off the ringer. Let me just call him. There we go. So, but it was, you could tell it was one of those spam calls anyway. So, but yeah, for me, it was, you know, I wanted to make sure that I could take care of other people and still do the things I love doing.
Thank you so much for your responses. Are there any questions from the students about this particular question? Our second question for you guys is, what are some of your failures and difficulties that you faced in the early stages of your business?
Well, I can speak to that because God knows we've had a ton of ups and downs, failures, however you want to call them. Once you have an idea of kind of what direction you want to go in, then refining your business model down, it took us, we're still refining.
Yes.
That's one of the hardest parts. We've gone, as I mentioned, trying to look at restaurant models. We've looked at various membership, subscription membership, home delivery meat programs. We've looked at high-end dog food, some really nice dog food, I'll tell you that. Cows, what we have are in large part is Wagyu. So that's a specific breed. It's like Kobe beef. So they're very fancy. So you're talking about dogs eating Kobe beef essentially. But that is one permutation of the business model. But I don't know if I call them failures, as opposed to you have to be able to analyze and then shift gears quickly when you're in the startup phase, because you may start with high-end meat for people and end up with high-end meat for dogs.
So for myself, yeah, I think Karen notes it quite right, that there are a number of things that you have to adjust to, much like we're having to adjust right now in the present climate, that you can consider failures for sure. And every time you find a failure or you find something that doesn't work, it's giving you an indication of where you should go next. And so there are a number of things that in the process of opening this business and then operating it, we haven't done right, from executing certain dishes, dealing with certain farmers, finding out that certain menu items didn't work, the price point was too high, the focus on a particular individual doing certain job didn't work. So there are all kinds of tiny little things that that always contribute to what you might consider a failure. I don't have that mindset. I don't look at it as a failure. I don't see them as failures. I see them as ways in which to kind of continue to grow and to develop, and to, as Karen pointed out, use the term refine. You're always tweaking. You're never, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're never going to stop working on your project. Your project doesn't just come to fruition and then you get to stop. It's not like that. It's admittedly extremely hard to launch a project, and then I find it perhaps even harder to maintain it. And so you're constantly looking at what's not working and what has worked well, and you try different things and iterate. Another way to answer the question for you, though, too, will be prior to opening the business, to having the ability to open the business. I worked for a series of properties. One of them was the Ashby, the other was the Goodstone, and another one was a place in Tennessee called Blackberry Farm, all three of which I was fired from. So that could be certainly seen as failures. I treated those places like they were my own, and they weren't. And that was just one more indication with each experience that I should probably open my own business. And so as I gained experience and I worked for others, I had issues with how others were running their business, and it wasn't my business to change. And so it was apparent that I needed to make my own shift and take responsibility for the business on my own. And so opening my own business was predicated by a series of, you could say, failures. But again, I think they just set me up to do the next thing.
Yeah, I think Neil kind of alluded to what I was going to go after. Is I don't believe in that word failure. I really don't. And so if you ask me what my failure was, I'd say I don't have any. Did I have challenges? I had plenty of them. Whether it was, having employees that weren't meeting the customer needs and having to work with them to get them up to par. And I had one occasion where I couldn't get the person to where they needed to be. And spent 3 months trying to work with this employee to get them to be the good employee, not the model employee, just the good employee. I couldn't get him there, and ended up having to release him. But I don't believe in the failure part of it. It's the challenges that go along with knowing that things change. It's the challenge of knowing that you're going to have things that are going to happen in business that you can't control. One of the things, and I'll give you an example for me, is I believe a handshake means more than anything. But in business, you can't do that. I had a guy that shook my hand that we were going to do some business together, and he stabbed me halfway through the project and did not stick up to his bargain. And when I asked him about it, he said, yeah, we talked about it. We shook hands. We said we were going to do that, but I changed my mind. And so I just think that, it was important for me to learn from that point on that handshake's important. It's extremely important, and still the most important thing to me. But let's get it in writing. Let's sign it. So that way, if I have to get the lawyer involved,
yes,
you can't back out and say, well, I really didn't mean that.
Right.
So again, I don't think, and if you're going through this and you want to be an entrepreneur, I would say the only failure you're going to have is if you quit and you say, I'm not going to do it anymore. This isn't right for me. And you move on. But everything is just a challenge.
Thank you so much. I think we all learned a lot about from you about your positivity and how you guys see things, see challenges in life and in your businesses as part of your experience to grow and to develop even better.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your responses. And our third question is, how did you fund your business in the beginning?
For us, we were self-funded, and we've remained self-funded. However, that being said, in the other business that I'm running now, the physician's office, one of the things that was very helpful in terms of maintaining our status right now is this PPE funds from the government, and the stimulus funds has been really helpful in keeping our employees safe, and because we're a doctor's office, so we have to work, we have to come in every day. So from that. So if you're self-funded, that's great. That was convenient, but finding the funding sources for a small business and maintaining them is tough, which is why these economic development commissions are so vital, because my background is in urban planning and economic development. So I was thrilled to hear that the Economic Development Commission is going to be teaching you guys, because they are the #1 resource that you should go to as a new potential business, is your Chamber of Commerce and your Economic Development Commission. And they know about the funding sources and small business loans, et cetera.
For myself, it was a process of finding investors to open the project. It was about connections and finding people I wanted to work with, that I believed understood my vision for this project and would support it and wanted to be part of this, as opposed to just focusing on an economic investment. So if they were just looking for a return, they weren't the person that was going to be right to be part of our investment team. If they were looking to be part of a community, support a community, create a restaurant that enabled a formation of a community around local product and a level of quality that we were shooting for, then they were considered. And the interesting part about it was finding I had one gentleman come to me and say, you should consider doing something in Marshall, and he and I hit it off quite well. And then I had another gentleman I was interested in having be my partner. And I talked to two of them, and they became the principal leads of the investment vehicle that we established. And then it sort of leapfrogged. I reached out to a few other people who I wanted to bring into the group, and some people were interested, some people weren't. And then those that were interested also ended up bringing in other people. And so our group continued to grow to about 12+ people to create the investment that was what we needed to open, to first purchase and then renovate and then open the restaurant. So it was a process that took quite a while. We secured the first couple people, and it brought in, roughly speaking, about 1/3 to 1/2 of the resources we were going to need to do the project. And so we began. And as we began the project, and the project began, as I said, with the purchase of the building and then a renovation that took a period of time. Then we found some asbestos, then we found some extra things that needed to take place. And the present investment group, people who were already in, said, let's pause, let's time out here. You need to go find the rest of the money and the rest of the investment to finish the project before we use any more of my money. And that took me quite a bit of time to find people. As I found, the experience wasn't the most difficult to convince someone to be part of the investment group. The harder part was to get their money. So once they said, yes, I'm in, and they shook my hand, Ken, it was a challenge then to get them to write the check. Not because they weren't willing to or didn't want to. It was, if you didn't catch somebody sort of on Monday and you didn't want to hound them for a check, you sort of lost another week, because they'd get busy with life. They'd be traveling, they'd be with family, they'd be with whatever other things in life were kind of dictating their time. And I would find it that 1 week would go by and I'd kind of touch base. Hey, are you ready to write the check this week? It's not the easiest question to keep asking. The first time you ask, are you interested? And here's my pitch. And they say, let me think about it. And they come back and say, yes, is far easier than, can I have the money? That's the challenge. I found that to be the more challenging part. And once you got the funds, creating the budget that stuck to those funds, and then working to maintain the project on schedule becomes another new challenge. But raising the money was a question of finding and identifying and developing the right group of people, and then having them actually fund the project, and then working from there.
So my answer is going to be quite a bit more boring than Neil's, because he had to do the legwork and go after it. For me, self-funded, but for what that meant was I was working on site for my customer and sitting there 40 hours a week, waiting for my government customer to pay me. The other 40 hours a week, I was working at night and on weekends to do payroll and business development and to go after other things. So I did not take a loan at the beginning. I do have a business loan right now. I've had a business loan for about 2 months after I started the company that I've never used. It's there in case we catch that huge contract and need to have a relationship with a bank. But it was all self-funded. And if we weren't getting paid, then I wasn't getting paid, and we had to figure it out. But you know, we were blessed from the first minute the first year the company started. By May of 2013 is when we started. By the end of 2013, we had positive numbers all around, and we've been kept on going ever since. So we didn't have to go and get funding.
And when, by the way, when we say, and Ken, I assume this is true for you, when you say self-funded, that means you worked your butt off ahead of time, scraped by in life, and collected and clipped coupons, all that stuff to get a nest egg so that you can take the jump. So it's not like, I mean, not everyone is fortunate enough to have, you know, a trust fund. So if you don't have a trust fund, then you need to start saving early.
Absolutely. I mean, I still, to this day, we've had pretty good success for the last couple of years. I still drive the same vehicle that I bought before I started the business with 15,000 miles on it. I still budget like I did before. I'll tell you exactly how much we spend on groceries every month. So we've kept it that way to make sure that the business is stable. So you're absolutely right, Karen. It is upfront, making sure that you're ready. I spent a good year writing a business plan of what my company would do, what customers I would go after, what my messaging was before I took that leap of faith. So there was a lot of upfront preparation. It just wasn't, I mean, there's a lot of luck involved in business, don't get me wrong. You have to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But I guarantee Neil, Karen would agree, at least for the first 4 years of my business, there was not a single week I worked less than 80 hours a week.
Oh, for sure. I'll note too, I think an important part to consider as you're looking at opening and running your own businesses, I think Ken alluded to it, Karen mentioned in terms of scraping by, you've got to be relatively whole in your own life personally before you can venture into another one. And by that, I mean, don't have debt. If you have debt and you're going to go risk something in the way of opening a business, and then also have other people work for you, and as Ken really eloquently put earlier, you're managing someone else's livelihood too. And if you have a bunch of debt, you're in a really critical spot. You'll make decisions that could potentially hurt you and others. And so don't put yourself in a situation where you're already compromised going into that. So we spent, my wife and I had rung up some credit card debt prior to getting to that point. I thought it was fine. Everybody did it. But I realized that before being able to open a restaurant, I needed to clear that debt. So we worked extra hard trying to scrimp and save and make sure that I was put in a position that wouldn't force me to make decisions for a dollar as opposed to the ethics that I wanted to comprise in the project.
Just going off of the topic at hand, I wanted to ask for your opinions for us young generation who wants to open up a business, maybe soon or maybe later in life. If you suggest us to open up a business as soon as we graduate, like at the start of life, or later on as you guys did when you have some savings?
For me, I spent the majority of my working career working for large firms as a lawyer. And so I helped small businesses start up, but I was in the work environment of a very, very, very large firm. So I never really wanted to own a business. I never really thought about it. It terrifies me. You have to be very comfortable with taking risks. And I don't know if I would. I got into it because of my family. If I had been on my own, I probably wouldn't have, because it's a lot of risk and it's scary, but you can do it if you have the right mentality and the right dedication and the right ethics, and you can do it. It's just, it's scary. I'll tell you that. And it's still new, even though I'm old in life now.
So it really depends, right? Because,
yes,
if you're young and you don't have a family, when I started my business, I had 3 kids and a wife. And I remember my wife going to her women's group Bible study and telling them I'm quitting my job and starting a business. And they said, "Oh, what is it? A tire shop or an ice cream?" They said, "No, Department of Defense Consulting." And they said, "Oh, honey, you need to come here and lay hands on you and pray. What are you doing? That's crazy." So, but because I had a family, everyone was nervous. If you're young, you can take risks, right? You don't have all those bills. You probably even have a family support system with your family. If all goes wrong, you can move in with mom and dad for a little bit. There's no shame in that, right? But in the same sense, what do you know at that point? For me, I couldn't start. My regret is I didn't start my company 10 years earlier, but only 10 years earlier. When I started the company, I guess I was 41 years old. I wish I would have started at 31 years old. Because I would have had enough experience at that point to start and be successful. But I would maybe argue that I didn't still, even at that point, those things I learned in those 10 years helped me where I am right now, and I grew quicker. So it's really what you're going to do. If you're an entrepreneur and you've got a great idea, remember we talked about it's luck, getting in the right place at the right time. So then go for it. But if it's something where you need to get the experience, I would say, and I don't want to speak for Neil, but if I was going to try to run a restaurant myself, I couldn't do it right now because I don't know anything about restaurants. So if you're going to run a restaurant, you probably need to go in the industry for 5 years at least. So
That's
Neil,
how I
what do you
approach
think?
it too. And I would say that, yes, I think if you have an opportunity to start a business where you have a certain level of skills, a certain understanding and a knowledge base, and you have that opportunity right now, go for it. You'll learn something. You learn a lot by doing. Studying is fantastic, but the actual application of that knowledge is important. So if you have a certain skill set, as you noted, that you are trying to bring people through, people in abroad to the United States and connect with high schools here on a platform, if you have that skill set and you can develop that business, that's wonderful. Go for it. For myself, it wasn't necessarily the business that I wanted to run. I wanted to follow a passion of connecting people through food and beverage. And I had to learn how to run a business. And I definitely identified, as I was doing my research, a number of people within the restaurant world for sure, where you can find various different statistics on this, but most restaurants fail within a first year, a lot more fail within 3 years, and then the rest of them principally fail within 5. And so most people who get into restaurants think because they eat and drink on a daily basis, they can run a restaurant. And it has nothing to do with being able to eat and drink. It has much more to do with being able to manage people, manage costs, figure out how to operate in a given series of environments, and you need experience for that. And so if you have the ability right now and you can volunteer your time, you can get a job in the particular area where you are passionate and excited, gain as much experience, and you're looking for 2 things. You're looking for how to do things and how not. And you just keep cataloging in your mind, I would do it that way, I wouldn't do it that way. And everyone you work for as though that place was yours. And you work harder and you have standards that are higher than whatever the highest standard is at that place. And that will get you far in terms of your operation with working with other people, but it will get you a lot closer to your goal of having your own business. You want to gain as much experience as possible, and you want to put the entrepreneur glasses on and leave them on at all times, looking at everybody you come in contact with. Did they serve me well? Would I have done something different? Are they here because they really care about what they're doing, or are they here to gain $1? Because those that really care about what they're doing oftentimes then are rewarded with dollars. If you're headed for just dollars, you're going to have a challenge. So if you're looking just to make money and to run a business, I would say don't do that. But if you're looking for something because you have a calling towards something, you have a passion for something, and you're intrigued in it, absolutely. Get started as soon as you can.
Thank you so much for your responses. I think that's some really valuable insights for us, especially when we don't know how to start our career or what to start with. Our next question is, what's something unique about your own business that makes your business successful among your competitors?
Well, Neil, you're the most interesting one on this.
Well, with respect to what we're trying to do, I don't think we see our business as a place where you eat and drink. We see our place as a way in which to connect and to develop community. And we use food and wine to connect with people. For whatever reason, food and wine for me is the lens through which I see everything in the world. So the study of wine, for example, has taught me more about science and more about geography than anything else. And I get to drink wine. So conveying that knowledge and sharing those beverages with people forms a connection. So as I get to know certain guests and what they enjoy, I get to then anticipate where their next experience will be with us. and we can create those career connections. So we started about 2.5 years ago, a membership club, a membership guild called the Hestia Guild. Hestia is the goddess of the hearth, to try to bring people together, because I recognized that certain guests that I was talking to on a nightly basis would really enjoy another guest that I talked to the night before, but they just didn't know each other. So I wanted a way in which to connect them. They had a shared level of interest in our restaurant, a shared level of connection with us. They loved food and wine. And so I wanted to be able to put them together. So we were prompted to develop a guild, a collection of people that kind of come in as members, and then we do certain events specific to them, and they get discounts and other things by way of being part of that membership. So it prompted us to come up with another facet of our business, because it related to our mission, which was to connect people.
So, you know, that is a great question that you asked, because you have to set yourself apart. And for us, you know, we're beating our competitors because what we're doing with our employees. Some of this you may or may not understand, but I'm sure Karen will definitely, and Robin will be like, okay, I get it. You know, we pay for 100% medical, dental, and vision for our employees and our family members.
Right.
So health costs in America are crazy right now. We take that out of the hands of the employees and say, we're paying for your healthcare and your family. Because what I don't want is if their car breaks down right before it's time for open enrollment, I don't want them to be nervous that I may not be able to afford that car payment because my healthcare costs are going up. So we pay for 100% medical, dental, and vision for employees and family members. We give them profit sharing. You know, at the end of every year, if the company does well, and we've done well since the beginning, we give them a percentage of their salary. We give them a bonus into their retirement. We do a 5% and 5% match on our 401ks. You put in 5, we put in 5. There's no games as far as the way it's put in. We pay for self-improvement benefits, which is $5,250 per year. We will pay for education and training for them. You know, whether it's to be a project management professional, or they want to go back to school for their MBA, we pay for things like that. And that's all tax-free also. We pay for cell phone benefits, you know, we pay for, so there's a whole bunch of things that we give them to show them, we want you to be able to take care of your customer only. Other companies aren't doing that, you know, but add that on top of our rates are low, our customers love that. And how are our rates low? Because we're humble people. We have a little small office in Warrenton, you know, and we, you know, keep our rates low to where our customers can, you know, get those good people. So we set ourselves apart by taking care of our employees, and a lot of companies do not take care of employees. And I kind of tell them when I'm interviewing them, if your company's not taking care of you, don't worry, we will. And I've had companies call me and say, why are you taking my employees? I'm like, you're giving them to me because you treat them so bad. So.
Well, and in terms of Avoca, we started on the whole premise that our meat was going to be better, cleaner, literally hand-fed when needed than any of our competitors. So an Omaha steak tastes nothing like an Avoca beef steak or the pork chop or whatever. So there's limited competition, I would say, in the field of subscription meats. High-end dog food, there's a lot of competitors. In terms of differentiating, I think the dogs on our bags are much cuter because they're mine. And, you know, dog food is dog food. So I can't really, I don't know, dog, that's how I think, but it's, it works. People want clean food. Yeah. And there was a book, and Neil, I can't remember the name of the book about, it was terrific. It was about the 3 examples of the different type of agriculture and industrial agriculture, and then the many ways.
The Omnivore's Dilemma?
What's that?
The Omnivore's Dilemma?
Yes, Omnivore's Dilemma.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it if you're interested in the food industry, anything related. Also, but the other business that I work in is this physician's office, right? And for the young lady that's interested in becoming a doctor, or anybody who's interested in becoming an accountant or a lawyer or any type of profession where you might want to run your own business, the one thing I've learned is you've got to know how to actually run a business. You could be the best doctor in the world. And if you can't bill properly, or if you don't have people who can bill for you properly, you're not going to make any money. If you have people working for you that are not detail oriented, you will not make money because you're going to have too many errors. So as a doctor or a lawyer, it is critical that you know every aspect of your own business, not just being the best doctor you can be, but also you have to know how to run your own business, or you will not be as successful as you could be, and you're very vulnerable to people taking advantage of you because you don't know the business.
I think Karen makes that point, and Ken made that point too, that, I mean, I was very proficient as a server. I know quite a bit about wine. I'm a fair cook. I was capable of doing the work and I was good at it. But when you start to run your own business, your focus isn't on doing the work. It's on developing the team, ensuring that the team around you has what they need to do that work well. And you start to try to get people who are better than you at doing the task that they're going to be charged with doing. So you're developing people, you're developing relationships, you're developing a team, you're creating a culture that matters and that sustains when you are not there. This is a hugely important part about the business. So if you love a particular area or passionate about an activity and you want to have your own business, you may very well get to a point where you don't do that work anymore. Your work is on the business, is on maintaining the scope of the business so that others can do what you were once really passionate about doing. So it's interesting you can be a single operator in Karen's example of being a doctor or a lawyer. And if you have your own practice, you're now in business, and it's important to make sure you have the office supplies as much as it is to have the 401k, as much as it is to then also read the legal brief. And that is, it's something that you kind of overlook as you're heading toward the mastery of the knowledge. You still need the skill set of running the business, which I think relates to the earlier question of when should you get started. As soon as possible, gaining all that experience and all the knowledge you possibly can.
Thank you so much. Our next question would be, how did you advertise your business?
Well, we, one of our approaches was having a subscription membership program. That being said, that uses the concept of exclusivity as a marketing tool. We're only going to let 100 people into our group. But if you're one of those lucky 100 people, then you're going to get XYZ. So you can either have or create the illusion of limited supply or exclusivity. This is really fancy. We're better because we're fancy, or whatever the spin is. So for us, it's not where we market, it's how. We are marketing a luxury item to a limited number of people.
For us, first and foremost, our biggest effort on marketing was how we treated both our guests. And I say both our guests. We have an internal guest, which is the team that works with us. And we have the external guest, the guest that comes through the front door. So making sure that they have a great experience magnifies then a word of mouth marketing. That was our first and basic form of marketing. The second, we then began to use social media. So we have an Instagram account, we have a Facebook account, and we do a weekly news, kind of a bi-weekly, bi-monthly, weekly, sometimes newsletter that shares information and promotes what we're doing, but also talks about what's happening in the community that we're part of. And so that's principally it. We've done a little bit of print media. We've done a little bit of some broader marketing, but by and large, our major marketing efforts are in social media and in trying to use word of mouth.
Yeah. And for us, it was mainly our website, and we did some press releases through PR Newswire to talk about events or wins within our company. You know, we have a LinkedIn account, we have a Facebook, but we just post things, you know, here and there. For us, marketing isn't a big part because of the fact of, you know, our marketing is our proposal we put into the government. So whether we have a website or a Facebook or anything like that isn't as important. it is for our partners and trying to, get people to within the industry to come search us out. So we did have a marketing campaign to where we did put things on PR Newswire. We have our little shirts that we, wear on customer site. And that's helped us because, customer will say, Strategic Alliance Consulting, what's that? Oh, it's Ken Luconis's company. Oh, really? Oh, he has a small company. And then there'll be some name recognition. They'll talk to me. And sometimes it leads to business. But for us, it hasn't been a big, we're not selling per se a product. We're selling, intelligence of a person on a site, solving a problem. So it's really our proposal that goes into the government. That's our marketing.
Thank you so much. I have one last question that's gathered from the students, and that will be, how does your business adapt during the pandemic?
Well, for us, if you think about it, most companies like Omaha Steak and all are sold out because during a pandemic, people are scared. They want a guarantee of clean food. We don't, and it's not that it's a tragic, unexpected, I can't even call it benefit. I don't even know what to call it. Circumstance is that people want delivery at home, and we just happen to be delivering at home.
You were well positioned already for this circumstance.
By dumb luck, because we didn't want to have a brick and mortar store, whether it was a meat store or a restaurant or whatever. So it was just the nature of what we wanted to do in the first place that's how we're managing this time.
Would that make your marketing schemes more important than ever then?
Definitely, because especially, even though as unemployment goes up, we're vulnerable because we are higher end. And in these uncertain times in the economy, first people are scared, so they want to make sure they're locked in and have clean food. But then they start not having as much money because of the economy is suffering so terribly. So it'll be interesting to see how things go over the next year with this incredible change. The restaurant industry, though, Neil, that's a challenge.
As I mentioned earlier, our mission was to continually build and form community and create connections using food and wine. And so as the requirements came to close the restaurant, the actual facility, I just thought, well, we have the ability still to fulfill our mission. We can still use food and wine and food and beverages to connect with people. We just have to do it in a different way. So we shuttered our restaurant and closed the ability for our guests to come inside the building, but our team is still here and we're making a heat and eat meal a day. We opened an extra day a week to make sure that everybody had more access to food given the uncertainty of the times. And so we create a $20 meal per day that offers some sort of starter and an entree that you can take home and heat up and eat again. And then we pivoted our other form of operations to sort of sandwiches. We started creating, we had a wonderful burger before called the Umami Burger. And we started making that burger and now a crab cake sandwich and a steak and cheese sandwich. And we've been working with local farms all along anyway, but as most of our broadline support from distributors kind of stopped, we just went and doubled down with farmers and said, you send us what you have, we're gonna make something out of it. And then whatever access we have, we'll put out as a little market where people can buy fresh produce and fresh eggs and things of that sort. So we diversified our offering and changed it. So now we have burgers, sandwiches, we have the heat and eat ready, F&M in the home kind of operation. We have a market where we're selling wine and beer and farm-based products, as well as some prepared goods. We make some soups and things of that sort. We do fresh baked bread. So we just took everything we were doing that we were applying in a sit-down restaurant context and broke it out into pieces and then reformed it and repackaged it. A lot of package in this context. So I'm buying a lot more to-go packaging at this moment. And we just shifted. And the response has been wonderful from our guests. And so we're a different restaurant, but doing the same thing in the way of kind of fulfilling our mission.
For us, it's business as usual now, but at the beginning there was a lot of uncertainty. You know, we were on sites, government sites, with special access, and those government sites closed abruptly. Even though we were told it may or may not be coming, we were told the dates would be out further. So one day, all of our employees were told to go home. So we continued to pay our employees during that time. So we had approximately 20 employees that were off government site for, which means I can't bill for them for a good, better part of 2 weeks. So, you know, that a lot of uncertainty at that point. Then the CARES Act 3610 came in place. The government shifted, and a lot of our employees are now working remote. And then some of them are going on shift work on site. Some are showing up at 2 in the morning to go to work. And that's their choice. The building is allowing to stay open, but they would rather go there when nobody's there or no one's gonna be in their office. So they'll go in for, you know, 6 or 8 hours and then go home. So I'd say it's changed a little bit of, you know, we're being very flexible with employees. They can work when they want as long as they get their job done. But I think we're still business as usual in getting the job done.
And that's our last question from the panel. So I guess we'll now open the stage up for students to ask questions that they come up with during the panel.
Do you have one?
Do you have any questions?
No?
I think they've answered everything we were curious about. And it was very well answered.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
this was very,
I know.
really
was-
enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Well, next time we'll have to do it live, and I'll bring some burgers for everyone. And, you know.
That'd be great. That'd be
Yes,
great.
please.
That sounds
Also,
awesome.
we'll bring the wine, right?
I'm all for that.
100%.
Thank you, Mrs. Banning.
Oh, thank you so very much for your time, your talent, your support of this forum. Like I said, this is the inaugural YEP. You know, Wakefield traditionally hasn't had business classes, so you know, in coordination with the marketing class, which unfortunately, Neil, we weren't able to help market Marshall because that was one of our big marketing things that we wanted to do. But I am very, very thankful that you guys chose to come see us today and to talk to our students about the entrepreneurial spirit. So again, many thanks. I obviously the students enjoyed this very much. So unless there are any other questions.
Well, thank you so much.
I would also, I'm not trying to cut off anybody, but I would also like to give a special thanks to Ms. Goldman, Mr. Allen, and Mr. Friedman for their dedication and time to the YEP program and really growing our knowledge in the entrepreneurial field. You guys did a great job, and hopefully we can continue this next year.
Yeah.
So what's on tap for us next year? We are in the process of putting together a business plan for a coffee shop for Wakefield. So right now we're still working the business plan that will be probably most likely be carried over into next year. So we will just take the bull by the horns and hopefully we can get back up on campus and start this business. So it will be student run. So we're all pretty excited about that.
Yes.
So.
Well, thank you for having me. And it's your tagline says capable, ethical, and articulate. And I have found each of you to be that this afternoon. So congratulations to you. Best of success.
Good luck, guys. See you on campus.
Thank you all for
Thank you so
participating.
much. Bye.
Ms. Goldman, can I have you hang on for a minute?
Yes, I will take us off Facebook Live though. Hang on.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Neil.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.